Welcome to The Authentic Life with KL, the podcast where we throw out the rule book, where we dive in head first to the real and raw, unapologetic journey of living the best life. That includes lots of music. This is your go-to space for empowerment, for deep healing and owning your authenticity like the boss that you are. We're here to break down walls and slay self-doubt. Vibe to the soundtrack of your soul. With every beat and lyric, we'll move through stories that heal and empower. You can live your fullest and most badass life. Welcome to The Authentic Life with KL. This episode of The Authentic Life with KL is brought to you by Break the Silence, a nonprofit created using music as a platform to raise awareness for mental health, suicide prevention, and recovery of all kinds, offering hope and starting the hard conversations to bring communities together. Hey guys, it's Kitty, and today we're doing something a little bit different, a lot different. I realized I've never really done a proper introduction, no big welcome to the show, no here's who I am moment. We just kind of kicked things off with a bang, dove straight in, and I never looked back, and here I am. And honestly, that's kind of how I learned to live my life as of lately. I am one that loves to control things and get things exactly how I need them before I jump in. I'm an overthinker and I'm a planner, but I think it's time to pause and kind of let you know the why behind this podcast, who I am, what I believe in, why in the hell is the space here anyway? And it's only fair that I make myself vulnerable and authentic on a show that is my exact mission. So here we go. Let's go back to the roots, back to the reason why I hit record. Because this podcast, it's not just a mission. It is a circle back around to me, to the real me, to the one that I keep rediscovering every single day. And it's also a promise that I made to myself to tell the truth, to hold space for others, and to show healing doesn't have to look polished. It just has to be real. And knowing that by sharing stories, this gives permission slips to other people to take up space and tell their stories and let go of that horrible feeling that we all feel sometimes of being alone. At the center of all of this, all of me, it is definitely music. Music has always been this thread that held me together when I was falling apart, until I process the pain, the words that I can't find on my own. This podcast, it was actually born from that, from the belief that music and mental health are forever connected, and sometimes a lyric can be a lifeline. I want to share some of my favorite clips from the past 38 episodes.
That's one of the stigmas of someone in recovery, because I know for me, like a lot of people in my life don't see what progress I have made,
Right.
but yet they don't take the time to actually sit down and, have a conversation with me.
It's not for me to go out and do everything for everybody or to heal everybody, but to hold space and show them that they have the power just to do it. And if I can do it, you can, I promise.
Yeah, and that's really been my big push lately is, it's like I'm just a normal person, just like you. All I'm doing is just like putting my head down and trying to accomplish the goals and the things that I want to do.
And I was like, I want to make a song that's like celebrates that we're all human at the end of the day, where we all go through ups and downs. We're sad sometimes, we're happy sometimes, and we shouldn't strive for like this. I need to be happy 24/7 forever. Like we're all gonna feel feelings, and it's okay, and it's beautiful, and we should acknowledge that and know that it's okay.
Because those are the things no one talks about, and those are the things I hold dearly in my heart. If I can make somebody smile, bro, like that is the shit. Like, so if I can expand on that in music, man, I'm doing it.
And so I told this lawyer at the party, that's what I make. I make a difference. What do you make again?
It's almost like I wrote myself a check back then, and now it's like you got a couple of years to fucking cash this thing. Like you got to make this, you got to make good on this. So it's kind of surreal time actually. And literally that's the song I've been doing today. So very personal song for me. Yeah,
lots of synchronicity there. I love that. I love that. I almost didn't start this podcast because I didn't have it truly figured out. And honestly, I still don't. I absolutely don't. In no way, shape, or form do I have it all figured out. I didn't have the perfect setup. I didn't have the perfect branding. I didn't have the perfect ideas. But what I did have was a voice. And I knew that I had a voice, right? And I knew that I could talk to people. That was never, ever even a thing. I had a heart full of stories and this deep belief that somewhere, somebody else might actually need to hear something real in this world. So I decided to hit record anyway, despite all that angst going on in my mind saying that you can't. Here's the truth. For the first 30 episodes, I almost threw up before every single one. Very true. I was anxious. I overthought everything. I kept asking myself, who am I to do this? Why am I doing this? Is this even a thing that's needed? But I showed up anyway. And I never thought for 1 second this is where it would lead me. I didn't have a big vision. I didn't have a big 5-year plan, a 4-year plan. I didn't have a plan at all, actually, with this podcast. I just became open, which was new, right? Vulnerable. I became open to whatever I was meant to do. Open to wherever I might land. I stopped forcing and I started flowing. And somewhere along the way, it stopped being about having it all figured out, having a plan, having a clipboard, having a list. It became about following a spark that I just want to start a fire with, a spark that I want to expand to other people. Learning to say yes when I've been terrified and frozen and stepping into uncharted territory has been scary as hell. Scary as hell. I had to learn to trust even when I couldn't see the whole map and I didn't know if I was going to take the next right step. But I did have an amazing coach who keeps telling me, you can change it up. It doesn't have to stay the same. It wasn't born from perfection. It was born from purpose. And if you're waiting for the moment when everything feels ready and right, don't wait. You don't need to be ready. You just need to be willing to be real, willing to let fear ride shotgun. I'm going to say that again. Willing to let fear ride shotgun. That's kind of scary. You have to be willing to say yes to the thing that keeps whispering into your heart. If you're listening right now, what is something that keeps whispering into your heart? You have to let fear ride shotgun if it's something that's that important to you. Say yes to the thing that whispers in your heart. Or it may lead you to a person, to a community, to something you've been waiting for as long as you can remember. The light switch moments that we have, they are moments that change everything. Not with fireworks, not with clarity. They are a switch moment that you are no longer the person you were before. When that switch flips, you're completely a different person down to your cellular structure because something has happened and something has changed. Once that switch flips, you can't go back. And we all have those moments, the moments that you can't go back to how it was before. There are a lot of moments in my life that shifted everything, like a switch flipping on in a dark room. But the one that changed everything for me was losing my brother. He was a football player, a comedian. He was my brother, a father, a son. And like so many who carry pain beneath the surface, he was also an addict. Addiction did not define him, but it did take him. It did take him. I was alone in the hospital, sitting in the kind of room that no one ever wants to be called into. The one where they explain the odds and they tell you what's probably going to happen. And you say, no, that's not true. There's no way. They ask you to make decisions that no one should have to make. And when he coded for the final time, I sat there. No distractions, no noise, just me and my thoughts. The silence is deafening. Sitting in silence in moments like that, it's the loudest it could ever get. It's kind of interesting that it's called silence in those moments. But something within that silence cracked me open. It showed me the fragility of life. And it showed me the power of truth. It showed me that everyone needs to be seen and everybody needs to be loved, no matter where they're at in their life. I knew if I made it out of the grief, I could use my voice for something real. Stop pretending and stop hiding. I was really good at hiding. I'd start creating spaces where people could be messy and honest and still loved. Can you imagine such a place? You're allowed to talk about things that no one else talks about. You could still be messy. You could still be honest. And you could still be loved. And it was okay. That is why this podcast exists. It's not just about conversations, it's about connection. And for me, the bridge between pain and healing was music. Music got me through the nights where grief tried to silence me. So now I use my platform and those melodies to say what I know someone else needs to hear. I've always been this music girl. Not just the I like music kind of way, but music is my lifeline kind of way. From being a little girl with pigtails running around in my dad's oversized Kiss t-shirt to being a teenager with Bon Jovi, Poison, Skid Row, and all of the hairband posters all over my wall from floor to ceiling and going to concerts. Music has always been my core. There are a few bands that didn't just become part of my playlist, they became part of my healing. And if you know me, you know these two bands, you do. Otherwise, and Another Lost Year. Both had enormous impacts on me as a soul from the moment that I first saw them. These bands gained a fan for life, a friend in their corner, no matter what. And they would have no idea really what was happening behind the smile I wore at their shows or what I was dealing with. I stood off to the side, always ask any of them to carefully navigate not being seen, even though I was so easy to see. And I know because, well, I'm just me, but easy to spot, but I was trying to hide. They didn't know I was barely holding it together. The deconstructing of myself, clawing at the insides. I just needed to be found. I just needed to find a way. I just needed to heal. I needed hope. I needed something somewhere. Their music met me exactly where I was. Their music met me exactly where I was. It gave me something to scream to, something to cry to, something to believe in again, a show, a hug, a laugh. And it wasn't just the music at all. It was the community. Some of my best friends I have are from these communities. It wasn't just the music, it was the community. The people I met at those shows were strangers, but they felt like family. They didn't need to know my story to see me. Do you know what that's like? They don't need to know your story to see. They just knew what it felt like to need the music too. They didn't need to know my story. They just knew what it felt like to need the music too. I've come to realize music doesn't just save lives through music. Music saves lives through community and through connection. Through the crowds that sing together, through the moments at a show where you feel less alone, through the nods, the hugs, the I see you looks from across the room. Those bands will never, ever know or understand how deeply they impacted me, nor the community. But I will never, ever forget it. And through that connection, I was reborn into the woman that I've become today and I'm consistently evolving into. That is the reason why I started this podcast. Because if one conversation, one lyric, one story can do for someone else what those bands and those communities did for me, then it's all worth it. What has this podcast taught me? If this podcast has taught me anything, it is that vulnerability is a superpower and authenticity is unforgettable. There's something really sacred about sitting down with someone and saying, tell me the truth. Tell me your truth, the messy, the beautiful, the heartbreaking. Just tell me. And every time someone has shown up to do that, whether it's an artist, a friend, or just me doing this, it reminds me that being real is not a weakness, it is a courage. Authenticity is not a weakness, it's courage. The show has taught me that people are craving spaces where they can be seen, not for the perfect vision that they put on Instagram or on the social media, but for the whole version, all the scars, all the shadows, all the stories, all of it. It's taught me that when you stop performing and you start connecting, that's when the real magic happens. That was actually an aha moment from my coach when he asked me, how's that authenticity working for you? And I said, aha, it's working. It's working. It's really working. It's taught me that music is often the bridge between those two things. It opens the door to the emotions that we've all been way too afraid to speak, but we can sing it in song. Every guest, every listener, every message, every moment, someone said, this helped me. That is the heartbeat of this podcast. It is the heartbeat of the movement. And maybe the biggest lesson of all for myself is that I don't have to have it all figured out to be worthy of sharing space with others that don't have it all figured out. It's a raw, intimate connection to sit there and realize two people are human, talking about same emotions, same experiences, just from different lives. I don't have to have it all figured out to be worthy of sharing space with others that don't have it all figured out. And neither do you. I just have to show up fully, honestly, and authentically because someone out there is waiting to hear the story I almost didn't tell. And I'm guessing that's probably the same for yours too. Why do I even ask questions? I've been told more than once that I should stop asking the mental health questions, that if I just stuck to my music, keep it surface level, that I'd have more people interested in coming on the show, more artists, more bands, more musicians. They would be okay if you just stopped asking those questions. And they could be right. They could be right. It'd probably be more popular if that was the case. But if I did that, I would feel like I was betraying myself and what I'm trying to open up and hold space for. I'm kind of done betraying myself, so I just keep going. The podcast wasn't created to play it safe. It was created to hold space. It was created to hold space for the stories behind lyrics. It was created to hold space for everything behind the eyes of anyone that I'm sitting across from. Because music saves lives, not just because of sound, but because of the truth within it. And if I'm going to sit down with someone who writes music that helps people feel less alone, how can I not ask about the very thing that makes us feel alone in the first place? Mental health is not a detour in this podcast. It's the core of something that I do and that I'm very passionate about. And I believe this with my whole heart. People can feel authenticity. People can feel it. They can see it. They can recognize it even through a screen, through someone's voice. How many times have you ran into a person and you've steered clear because of how it felt? People can feel authenticity. That's why I won't stop. I believe that by continuing to hold space with honesty and intention, the right people will find their way here. And they have so far. The artists, the storytellers, the listeners, the survivors, the seekers, Anyone ready to be seen, heard, and honored in all of their wholeness, all of it. I believe I'm here to be a safe space for those stories when they're ready to be told. And I'm not going to dim my light or the truth just to make it easier for others. I guess it's not just a podcast. It's not just a movement. It's a sanctuary for realness. And I want to keep showing up exactly as I am in all of my messiness so others know that they can too. Because that's really what it's about. For those of you that don't know, I do teach in a community called the Authentic Life Collective, and we focus on authenticity. We focus on walking through grief, stepping outside of our box, celebrating all the things that we do, encouraging each other. And interestingly enough, we talk a lot about the mirror. This mirror that we all stand in front of at some point or another. And we all feel like we're not good enough. And we'll point out all the things we don't like about ourselves. Body dysmorphia, things that we don't like about our height, our face, our hair color, our skin color. There's so many things that we point out that we don't like. Because we've all been brought up in communities and social media and TV and all these places that make us feel like our individuality is not something that should be celebrated. When I'm talking about a mirror, I used to always talk about the glass mirror, the mirror that we all look in and see. But I found this poem and it was super impactful. And I thought it would be perfect to share towards the end of this podcast. The mirror we seek. We spend so much time standing in front of mirrors trying to find our worth, trying to see if we're beautiful enough. Are we good enough? Are we enough? But what I've learned on this journey through grief, through healing, through this podcast, is that the mirror we're really looking for is not made of glass at all. The truest reflection of who we are is not found in our appearance. It's found in the people that see us, that we keep close. Our friends who believe in us when we're doubting everything. The community that shows up with love and grace. And the artists who sit across from me and they speak their truth. If we're open, truly open to self-reflection, we'll begin to see that the mirror that we've been searching for is in every single soul, brave enough to reflect back the parts of us that we've forgotten how to see in ourselves. Our strength, our light, our story, our softness, our spark. And that is why I do the podcast. And that is what the podcast is about. It's not just music or mental health. It's about remembering who we are through connection. That is why I do this podcast. That is why I hit record. Before I wrap it up, I am going to take a second to thank my great friend and coach, Clinton Cunanan. I honestly would not be who I am or where I am without his insight and his honesty and his friendship. He has been a sounding board, a truth teller, and one of the most steady sources of support that I've had as I've grown and shifted and tried to figure out what alignment really looks like for me. Thank you for the reminders, the support, and seeing all the versions of me as I continue to evolve and change this world. And that, my friends, is a wrap. If no one's told you lately, you are already more than enough. You are. You are seen, and if you ever need a reminder, the space here, right here, is right here for you. Until next time, stay real, stay grounded, and keep looking for moments that reflect you back to yourself. Moments that reflect you back home. The Authentic Life with KL and Break the Silence are two healing missions aligning to support mental health, all wellness and recovery, offering hope and amplifying the light.